unabashed,
the most unpredictable,
becomes a headline,
the most volatile,
outrageous behavior,
unsubstantiated narratives, a battle of personalities.
Welcome to Grand Tamasha, a co-production of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace and the Hindustan Times. I'm your host, Milan. We are live here in New Delhi at the Hindustan Times studio to kick off our 15th season of Grand Tamasha. We're here with a special guest, Sunetra Choudhury, the political editor at HT, also the author of the bestseller Black Warrant, also a big hit on Netflix. Congratulations, Sunetra.
Congratulations to you, 15th season.
Thank you very much. I thought what we would do today, because, as you know better than anyone, the political stories are coming fast and furious. We have the Bombay Municipal Corporation elections. We have a bunch of state assembly elections coming up. Last year, we had the Delhi and Bihar elections. Start of the new year is a good time to take stock of the state of Indian politics. So that's where I want to start. As we enter 2026, the last 18 months have been kind of an incredible storyline, right? If we go back to the 2024 general elections, there was this surprising to many, I think, underperformance of the BJP led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. People were writing op-eds about, have we seen peak Modi? Has the BJP kind of hit its ceiling? Fast forward, start of 2025, that narrative had completely disappeared. The ruling party had won state elections in Haryana and Jharkhand, Maharashtra, then Delhi, then Bihar. And 2026, my sense is, but I want to hear from you, is we are fully back in a kind of dominant party era where the opposition is really struggling to make any headways. What do you think?
I agree with that. I think 2026 has begun really well because, there's that whole, as you said, afterglow of all those wins over there and Bihar. They're all going into that. And I think we could see that afterglow of Bihar in the last session, and we are now going to the budget session, where they used that kind of momentum that they had in order to get all these very interesting sounding name bills through, right? So you have your G Ramji completely doing away with UPA's Manrega, the Shakti bill, and you have the higher education bill, which is the Viksit Bharat bill. All of these bills, and that one was pending for a long time. So all of this, so you really go into it, and now of course we have the AI summit coming very soon, next month in February, where Modi is hosting Jensen Huang of NVIDIA, Bill Gates. So we really see that kind of optimism in the government who would have thought that they would be able to push through Manrega, scrapping Manrega in its original form, because it's completely changed, and you have even their biggest supporter, their ally, Chandrababu Naidu, pointing out that there is a problem with funding.
Right. And this is just, we should remind our listeners and our viewers, this is the flagship National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme where anyone in rural India can have up to 100 days of paid work. And it's been seen as an important kind of shock absorber. This new bill changes the conditions of the work. It also puts a lot of the burden of financing away from the center into the state. So it's seen as like a pretty decisive change in the overall makeup of this scheme.
That's right. And this is something which, for the opposition, it is like a red flag. The Congress is saying that they plan to agitate against it. But the interesting thing is that the government knew, and it was so confident about it. And even though its allies are also kind of worried, but the Congress, because of the kind of post-Bihar lull that they've induced in the opposition, you haven't seen those protests anywhere outside of Lutyens' Delhi. It's been limited to the Youth Congress office here in Lutyens' Delhi. So So it's that, you have the AI summit coming, and then you also have the big census delayed for 5 years. Everyone's looking forward to that first kind of caste census happening over there. So that's a big deal as
And
well.
the first public caste census in many, many, many decades.
So the only thing that is taking perhaps a little bit of the sheen of the, the kind of gung-ho spirit that the government is exhibiting are two things. One, the pollution. Even though it wasn't an issue at all in the Delhi elections, which took place last year, but I think the protests that have been taking place in the recent weeks and the kind of concern that we've been saying, I mean, the government, in the midst of all of this kind of optimism, the government did kind of backtrack a little bit on the Aravali issue. Now, that issue, of course, for your listeners and for your viewers who may not be so aware of it, that issue, of course, that they said that anything above a particular height, which took away the whole definition of redefined what a forest was, and Aravali being so close to the national capital region, they didn't anticipate the kind of backlash. So we are not seeing it from the traditional modes of protest. You have a lot of middle class, a lot of activists, a lot of people in Delhi and Gurgaon protested against. So that, I think, was a bit of a surprise for Bhupendra Yadav and the entire government as well. The pollution issue as well, because you had Prime Minister Modi then having to step in and say and ask his minister to say, you have to meet every week and fix the pollution problem. So I think that is suddenly becoming a lot more relevant to people right now. And then while we are speaking, you have the badminton championships happening, and you have key players saying they're not going to come to Delhi in order to take part in all of that. So the pollution issue, I think, is taking away from the sheen of the image of the Viksit Bharat image that the government has.
Yeah. Let me just, you mentioned Bihar a couple of times, right? This pivotal election. The BJP, of course, has had its longtime ally, the JDU, headed by Nitish Kumar, one of the longest serving chief minister. The chief minister has had 9 lives and maybe then some. The NDA alliance comes back with a pretty significant, kind of demoralizing victory. You had a piece in HT, which I think you described this as an election whose ripples will be felt even beyond the boundaries of the state. Tell us a little bit about what those ripples might be. I mean, what was the larger, you think, national significance of what's a state election, an important state, but still just one state election?
I think the main one is that after 2024, as you said, there was a little bit of a question mark, or there was doubts in some circles, or at least opposition or critics of the government were pointing to the agenda saying that, is Modi has peaked already? I think Bihar has kind of established that that is incorrect, that Narendra Modi, his choice, his campaign is still supreme. So that, I think, is the big thing over here. And you see that even in things that are happening now. Modi has opposed Bihar. We see the kind of political capital. We see it in the choice of the BJP president.
Yeah, I want to come to that in a second.
Yes. So I think Modi's authority in this particular post-Bihar thing has been, reiterated. I think the second thing is also about this entire thing of benefits of, the welfare scheme with its Ladli Behna. I think what it has established, and we are seeing it, whether it's in Maharashtra, we will definitely see a lot of it in the Bengal elections as well. That Maharashtra elections, after that, if you saw Maharashtra, you saw Jharkhand, all the elections that have taken place, and Bihar cemented it. The 10,000 rupees that they gave as part of an employment scheme that they had, it kind of established the fact that you need that, and that is something that has now become the norm.
Right.
And we are seeing it in every election. I think that is something that Mamata Banerjee caught on to early on. She kind of implemented some of it in her previous election as well. But I think in this particular election and post-Bihar, it has become the norm. There's going to be a lot more competition. I think the benchmark of how much you give to each of the voters is also going to increase. We're going to see that in Tamil Nadu as well. So this whole thing of a transactional thing which I think a lot of the middle class or salaried people might have reservations against it. You might, of course, see all of us writing about it. But it has now become the norm post-Bihar in all elections as well. So in both these aspects, whether it's Modi's authority and the kind of political, what it takes to win an election has changed after Bihar.
So two things I want to pick up on. We'll get to the state elections, upcoming state elections in a second, but let's talk about this new BJP right now. Working president, Nitin Nabin. I mean, I will admit that I knew very little about this person. I started to Google him immediately after it was announced, I think in December, that he was going to be the working president. I think HT has reported that as early as maybe the end of this month, he's going to be elevated to the full-time National Party president of the BJP. Who is this man? What do we know about him? And why was he kind of plucked out of, I would call, relative obscurity for, the position of running, one of the biggest political parties in the world?
Milan, I think we might just have the first almost a millennial party president. I mean, who would have thought? Yeah. Politicians in India, they're all mostly boomers.
Right.
In America as well. Right? And so what Narendra Modi has done is that he's skipped a couple of generations. There's going to be a 30-year gap between him and the new party president, right? And when I knew that you and I are going to have this conversation, of course, I knew nothing about Nitin Nabin. I've been calling the contacts that I have in Bihar, BJP, elsewhere as well, and trying to find out about this young man, Nitin Nabin. Of course, to be sure, he is a 5-time MLA. He is also someone who came into politics when his father died in 2006. So that was his first election. The opposition, but they don't know that much about him, but they would have also gone to the fact that, look, he's a bit of a dynast as well, right? So he came into it because when his father died. And the thing is that the first thing, and everyone says about him, because they don't know that much about him, is that he is, this whole thing about just having the young generation in. He's a B.Tech from Mesra. So one BJP person, because, apart from the fact that he's very young and how it is a bit of a connect between the polity, the young polity that there is there, and the party, and they said, he's the right kind of person to take us into the AI generation. I wasn't really convinced about that. The more convincing explanation, Milan, that I've had is that, look, Bihar is a tough space for the BJP, right? A lot of the credit, while I talked about Modi and his popularity, but let's face it, at that time as well, a lot of the credit just went to Nitish Kumar. Right. The fact that it was his last election, people, he still had that feel good, and people still owed him that much for changing the face of bringing development in Bihar. So the BJP needed someone over there after Sushil Modi, and Sushil Modi didn't have that kind of a persona that would have, the BJP felt very comfortable as a chief ministerial face on it.
And he was for many years the deputy chief minister, the kind of perennial number 2 to Nitish Kumar's number 1.
So they felt that this move of choosing someone like Nitin Nabin, why it had to be, because let's face it, he also doesn't come from one of the key caste areas. He's a Kayast from Bihar, so it's a forward caste. So the explanation that seemed most convincing to me about why he's been chosen is that they needed the future of Bihar. Bihar is too important a place, and that could only happen if they chose someone from Bihar as someone who would also be seen as the next power center after Modi and Amit Shah. So for the people of Bihar, they couldn't accept any other leader unless it was someone who Modi paid, bowed down to as well, and Amit Shah as well. So, and they needed someone of that stature. So it is immediately elevating someone to that stature. And the fact that, he's only 45, so he has about 20 years or so to develop into someone of, a national thing like that. So yes, so there's a lot of thought that the BJP seems to have put into this. The opposition may be kind of they might be saying that, look, the BJP they don't care about people who can question authority. They want to go for a yes man. But there are also people in the opposition who realize that the BJP that way has empowered young people. And a lot of the people in the Congress, whereas the Congress led by 82-year-old Rahul Gandhi himself is in his mid-50s. So for a lot of young people, this seems quite an inspiring move.
Let me then go to the second thing which you mentioned, which is, we have these upcoming state assembly elections. We have Assam, Bengal, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Pondicherry, right? A set of critical states. They'll go to poll later this spring. Tell us a little bit about the mood inside the BJP, right? I mean, obviously, Assam is a state that they've dominated. Bengal, they have made inroads, but they've never been able to topple Mamata Banerjee. The southern states, particularly Tamil Nadu, Kerala, are two states where they've really struggled, but have, said ever since Modi came to power that they've set their sights on expanding the BJP's footprint into the south, into the east. Where do you think the party is today as elections are now, just a few months away?
Apparently, half the battle is just motivating your party workers and cadres, right? If they feel that things are too hopeless, they won't go out and do the work. And so the fact that they have been able to get this tremendous victory in Bihar, that has motivated lots. And I think you can see that also in the fact that even in places where things are very tough for them, for example, Kerala and Tamil Nadu, where they're basically, it's AIA-DMK, they've got the alliance and so. But look at the amount of time that Amit Shah and Narendra Modi are spending there, right? Amit Shah was in Tamil Nadu last week. Narendra Modi is heading there on the 23rd. He has a big campaign as well. I think he's going to Kerala much before that. So they're spending a lot of time also because they believe that at the moment, I think in the 2016 and 2021 elections, it was only about 3% vote share that they had, which they improved in 2024 to about 11%.
Right.
So there is a thought which I've heard various BJP leaders say that, once you've hit that 10% mark, that it can only grow. So they're very, very optimistic and they feel that they can really make inroads. And I think the fact that they were able to get the Thiruvananthapuram mayoral election in Kerala as well gives them the reason for optimism. I think the tough one and the one that we're all watching is what happens in Bengal. Right. And while a lot of the BJP people on ground don't seem that confident because of the fact that they have 77 seats, right, out of the 294 seats that
assembly,
they have. They need to double that.
Right.
That is no mean feat.
Against, by the way, a stalwart incumbent who, much like the Communist Party Marxist before her, Mamta Trinamool has, had this uninterrupted break, controlling the reins of power.
Yeah, they have. But I think what the BJP is really hoping for, two things. They're saying that, one, 15 years she's been in power.
Yeah.
And because of the fact that, she has been focusing and whatever, people want some kind of change. It's been 15 years, so they feel this time it could be the fact that, and they've got Mamta busy with whether it's ED raids.
Yeah, just this week there were Enforcement Directorate raids on IPAC, which is the famous political consultancy which has been doing work for the party.
A little sidebar on that, Milan. Don't you think it's interesting and a sign of times that before we saw raids on politicians, and right now, in just the last week, we've had raids on political consultants. So it's a design box, which is working for Ajit Pawar. And over there, of course, they've now become BJP, confrontational with the BJP because they've gone back in alliance with Supriya Sule, the other faction of the NCP. So I just think it's interesting that, you're having so much focus on the political consultancies as well. So right, coming back to Bengal, the fact that Mamta's been in power, one, that's there for them. And you also have people who are managing the elections there saying that, look, Trinamool Congress has for long been dependent on this 30% votes of the minorities. And they feel that they can really limit that. It's basically only about 50 odd constituencies where the Muslim vote counts on. So the BJP is just going to focus on the other ones, other than these ones, which are the Muslim seats. They're going to focus on the other seats. And the fact that they're focusing on, the fact that they're going to weed out Bangladeshis and insurgents and infiltrators, all of these campaigns. And they're hoping the fact that people want change will override what Mamta's focus is on the fact that a lot of the BJP people, they're outsiders, they're Hindi speakers, and she's hoping that that kind of that nationalism and pro-Bangla feeling overrides what the BJP is trying to do.
And, I think the advantage she has and has long had is that even though the BJP has made inroads, as you say, 77 seats in the assembly, they have always lacked a face. Right? They've really struggled to project somebody who is their person, who can kind of go head to head, toe to toe with Mamata Banerjee, right? So I think in the kind of pluses and minuses column, that's long been, I think, a minus for them.
For sure. I think, and that way they're feeling much more confident about Assam. I think it looked very, very iffy for a bit last year, and especially after 2024, because over there as well, everyone was kind of tired of the same kind of speak that Himanta Biswa Sharma was talking about. They felt that, it was a lot more talk and not much work on the ground. And Zubin Garg, this singer's death, had created an atmosphere because he spoke his mind, he was anti this entire CAA. So there was a moment there where there was a bit of an anti-government momentum. But I think that has kind of gone away with time. And the problem in Assam, which the Congress is guilty of in a lot of places, is that they fail to take, cash in on that momentum.
Right.
And we've not seen the Congress really get their act together. And we've not seen them have any kind of narrative about what they offer instead of the Himanta Biswa government. So right now, BJP is feeling very confident about Assam as well.
Just a second on that. I mean, in this Delhi parlor game that many of us like to play about, who could be a potential successor to Modi, you often hear Yogi Adityanath, Amit Shah. Himanta Biswa Sharma also gets mentioned. I think he would like to see himself in that conversation. So it's an interesting election to watch because his post-Assam political future may rest on how this state election turns out.
Hey, Grand Tamasha listeners, thanks for listening to the podcast. Putting this show together each week is a labor of love, but it takes a lot of work to put out a great show every week. If you'd like to support the work we do at Grand Tamasha, please visit ceip.org/donate. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or on your favorite podcasting platform, so you'll be the first to know when a new episode rolls out.
And I think that Himanta Biswa Sharma really, as a nod to all these kind of aspirations that his supporters have, you see him really speaking about the Sangha a lot. You really see him really relying on Hindutva a lot as an issue and be much more of a hardliner than the other BJP.
Right. And we should remind people that he was with the Congress until not that long ago, and because he felt he wasn't given proper due, joined the BJP.
Yeah, after all, we are seeing all of the kind of really tough laws, whether it's about the number of children that people should have, all of these germinate in Assam. And I think there is a little bit of wariness among the people who I speak with in Assam who are saying that, well, is this really, we've heard it a lot before, but what kind of action are we really seeing on the ground? So there was some unhappiness, which we heard even in Bihar before the elections. But when it comes down to voting, if people don't have a good enough reason, they're not going to vote for change. And so that we're not really seeing in Assam. So that's interesting. And if you're talking about what after Modi, then I think that other elections, we're seeing kind of that build up as well. 2027 is Uttar Pradesh.
Right.
And they've, of course, starting to get their act together with the new BJP president over there, Pankaj Chaudhary, the Minister of Finance, the junior Minister of Finance here in Delhi. So his appointment. So while Akhilesh Yadav feels that he still has the momentum post 2024, I think the BJP is working very hard over there as well in Uttar Pradesh. They know that it's not too far away.
Right. So I want to ask you about the Congress. We haven't really talked about the Congress much. But before I do that, you mentioned Himanta Biswa Sharma's kind of outreach to the Sangh. And if you go back to 2024, one of the explanations for the BJP's underperformance was there was some kind of cleavage or divide between the BJP, the political party, and the RSS, the various organizations of the Sangh Parivar, and that maybe, just maybe, the Sangh did not go all out to campaign as hard as it could have. And remember, there were a number of controversial statements that BJP leaders made during that campaign, including the fact that, well, as the BJP has gotten more prominent, more power, we don't maybe need the RSS as much. And that did not go down that well in Nagpur. How would you look at things today, Sunetra? I mean, given how well the BJP has done almost in every state election since May, June 2024, do you think that they're on a better wicket, the Sangh and the BJP, in terms of making sure that they're all kind of pulling in the same direction?
I think they have really reiterated their authority over the RSS. And I think the BJP, and it's lots of things, but it's Bihar. But more importantly, more recently, it's in the choice of the BJP president.
Right.
In the run-up to it, I think we all assumed the reason why there was so much delay, I think there was more than a year's delay. The reason why there was so much delay is that they couldn't come to a middle ground on the choice.
And who would take over from JP Nadda.
Who would take over and things like that. Now, by choosing Nitin Nabin, it is very, very clear that it is a Narendra Modi choice. That the RSS had nothing. He is in no way an RSS pick or someone who could be a consensus candidate. This is purely a Narendra Modi pick. As party workers told me, in 2009, Nitin Nabin was one of the first people as a young legislator that he said there should be Narendra Modi who should be our prime ministerial candidate. So it goes back to 2009. And apparently Modi remembered that. But but in his choice one, we see that it's the BJP calling the shots. Now, the RSS has an explanation by saying that we don't interfere unless we think there's a need to pivot. For example, again, in 2010, that's when Ashok Singhal of the RSS said, let's change track from LK Advani as a prime ministerial face and bring in Narendra Modi as a prime ministerial face. So that's when they said they needed to pivot, and they did. And that's when they need to interfere. Right now, they feel that they don't need to. But again, it's like accepting that Narendra Modi is in charge and he's doing things fine. So we see that there. The other thing that we could also see is that in Bihar, this entire win, whether it's Haryana or Maharashtra, two elections which the BJP won post 2024. In 2024, if we go by the fact that the RSS pulled back and there was tension, Nadda said as much that we don't really need them. We saw that impacting in them getting 240, 30 seats less than the majority mark. And then we reported on the 60,000 meetings in Maharashtra, the 30,000 meetings in Haryana, and we saw the impact of that. And the RSS talked about it as well, off the record, that yes, we're doing many more meetings. There is a kind of discussion as well. In Bihar, there is not that much presence of RSS. It's simply not there. So when they were able to win Bihar with, and get a great result without the RSS. So in both these aspects, I feel that the BJP is shown that they're fine, they're in control. The RSS is doing what it does. They're in an advisory role.
So we've talked a lot about the BJP. Let's turn now to the other side, the Congress Party. I mean, they've kind of experienced the sort of mirror image of the BJP, right? A lot of enthusiasm after the 24 election in the Lok Sabha. The Congress nearly doubles its tally from 52 seats to almost 100 seats. The India Alliance, put up a pretty good fight. In states like Uttar Pradesh, you saw the India Alliance do way better than I think a lot of us expected. And there was a feeling that maybe Rahul Gandhi had turned a corner, that he had, through his various yatras, had gained some respect, some consistency, some credibility. They were looking at those fall elections of 24 in Haryana, Maharashtra as these are ours to lose, not the BJP's to win. And lo and behold, again, the Congress came up with no wins during this period. And, I think it raises questions about, does the Congress under its current leadership have what it takes? They have a kind of old Congress warhorse, Mallikarjun Kharge, theoretically running the show, but Rahul Gandhi is very much there. I don't even want to say behind the scenes, because he's often in front of the camera, not just behind the scenes. Tell us a little bit about, when you talk to your friends, sources in the Congress, what are they saying about the morale within the party, the direction of the party? I mean, what's their temperature right now?
This Led Zeppelin song comes to mind, Dazed and Confused. No, really. And I think this is a particularly bad time for them. One, let's just see the CWC, Congress Working Committee meeting last week. Digvijay Singh, one of the big loyalists, even he's pointing out, look, we have a problem with our organization, the way we plan elections. After the elections, we really didn't see any kind of soul searching. They put it down to SIR. There was no kind of...
This is after the Bihar elections.
That's right. Yeah. They had meetings, and Rahul Gandhi didn't, pin the blame on anyone. They were all very happy to say, and if you don't acknowledge what went wrong, how are you going to fix it? So, someone like Digvijay Singh, who's obviously pointing out within the party, that's one thing. Then I think the other kind of thing is, and you can see it in Bihar, you're left with 6 MLAs over there. All 6, there is no effort to at least then get your act together. Okay, what are we going to do? Talk to Tejasvi. The 6 people are now almost joining BJP.
Wow.
They haven't been going for any of the meetings. They haven't been attending anything there. So even if things go back, forget the introspection. It's like, okay, let's have other meetings. Let's reach out. There's no effort like that. And you see that over there as well. Let's look at Kerala. That's their big hope right now, because the LDF, the left government, Pinarayi Vijayan's government, they've been, they came back to power last time, belying all expectations.
Right. I mean, this is a state that always goes from the left to the Congress, left to the Congress, back and forth and forth.
Right, right. And I think, Milan, you can see in the attitude and in the campaigning what has become the Congress's default mode. They expect the anti-incumbency that is on the ground to deliver the Kerala elections to them. And so there is no real effort that is going on. Rahul Gandhi hasn't, there's no big campaign there. There is no yatra planned. Of course, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra is a big face from there. She keeps going to her constituency, Wayanad.
Parliament from...
But see, there lies another story. Because Priyanka Gandhi has been getting the right kind of buzz, because politics is all about perception, she has impressed a lot of the government and BJP as well. We saw that lovely interaction between her and Nitin Gadkari, and she's very comfortable sitting with the Prime Minister and conversing with him, which Rahul Gandhi isn't. Now that seemed to have created a bit of a panic or a bit of an uncertainty within Rahul Gandhi's team. And you can see that in the fact, what explains the fact that she doesn't really have an organization role.
Right.
We don't really know what she's doing. So the Congress right now is hoping and praying that they get Kerala delivered to them. But in politics, as you know, there is really no certainty. And the Congress's problem has become that they just expect things to come to them. They're expecting anti-incumbency to build up against Narendra Modi nationally, and in Kerala for things to go against Pinarayi Vijayan, and that I think has become the big kind of undoing. And Rahul Gandhi, I won't go on to say that, it's just that as leader of the opposition, he had the role. Initially, it looked like he was really, really interested in that role. But the fact that he left during a parliament session and he went to Germany, and they of course said that he had a very important meeting there, but now he stands for expressing the DMK's concerns, the Trinamool's concerns, the NCP's concerns. I'm sure it's not looking too good him leaving in the middle of all of this. So
Well, it also feeds the constant kind of gripe about him or criticism, which is that he's sort of a half in, half out politician, right? I mean, he's unable to kind of show that he can stay the course because of these kind of international engagements. Let me just ask you a question I kind of know the answer to, but I'd be curious what you have to say, which is, are there any signs of alternative opposition forces, anyone that is trying to step up and claim the space that the Congress ceded? I mean, a few years ago, if you and I had this conversation, we'd probably point to the Aam Aadmi Party as a potential third force rising. But now, after the Delhi elections, by all accounts, really struggling in Punjab to get their work done. Arvind Kejriwal is not the same kind of figure that he once was in terms of the national attention. I mean, are there any other green shoots? If you're the opposition, you look out at, at a national level, do we have what it takes to take on Narendra Modi?
unfortunately, no. I can't see anyone like that. I think that you do have, and I've had this conversation a few years ago with a BJP leader. I think they all said that, all of these people, whether it's Mamata Banerjee, whether it's Stalin, all of these, or Akhilesh, they're all really smart people. But they are nationally, no one has that kind of
persona.
And one congressperson said this to me yesterday. They said, and the BJP is working very hard to get in one nation, one election.
Right.
And if we were to have one nation election right now, it's only the Congress which would have that kind of a cachet across the country. Nitish Kumar, who we were speaking so much about just last month, or just till November, no one's talking. He's, disappeared from the national pages. He's not making that kind of news. So we really have that space open. And unfortunately, no. There doesn't seem to be anyone. They all seem, they may be giants otherwise, all of these people.
In their states.
In their states. But when it looks at the national scene, then they all look like Davids in front of Modi's Goliath.
So, you mentioned a couple of times the issue that is taking up a lot of space in newspapers around the country, in online debates, and so on and so forth, which is this SIR. The Election Commission in the Bihar election decided to implement this large-scale, what they call special intensive review, which is a purification of the electoral rolls. There were many reasons cited for this. The idea that there might be illegal migrants who are voting, the fact that, because there's so much migration happening internally within India, you want to make sure that people are registered in the right place, because there are issues with both the birth and death registration systems. You may have people who should be included who are not, as well as people who are long gone who are still on the rolls. It was an extremely controversial exercise. A lot of people, including, I think, frankly, not just the opposition, but independent analysts, felt that the Election Commission rushed into this exercise. It wasn't well thought through, wasn't explained. There was a lot of back and forth, including, by the way, with the Supreme Court about how this exercise would run. But be that as it may, the Commission is now running the same exercise in all of the poll-bound states, including the ones that we mentioned earlier. The opposition's main critique seems to be that this is something the ECI is doing at the bidding of the government because they want to disenfranchise voters who may not be voting for them. The subtext here is the minority community, the Muslim community. Whether or not one or the other side has the upper hand in terms of the facts, how is this going down? Is this these complaints about SIR, do you think they're getting any traction? I mean, we saw in the Bihar campaign, Rahul Gandhi, the Congress, made this one of their signatures issues. It didn't work out that well, but they continue to really harp on the fact that, look, the Election Commission is essentially weighing in elections on the side of the ruling party. Do you think that this is a fruitful plank for them to pursue?
What is a fact is the fact that the Election Commission's credibility has gone down with the public. Before, I remember being a young reporter, and the Election Commission was always talking about, going all the way, walking so many kilometers for the booth for that one single voter, right? That kind of image that the Election Commission has is no longer there.
Right, it's taken a dent.
It's really taken a dent because in their handbook, it says very clearly, one of the clauses, I'll just give you an example. One of the clauses says, if you're a public person, and an MP or, someone of note, then you will make concessions. You don't have to, there'll be special provisions to make sure about your voter roll. And yet, despite this being in their handbook, we've continuously seen reports of Nobel Prize winner Amartya Sen or MPs in
Decorated
Goa,
military veterans.
all of them being struck off and being told to come in person to respond. And the fact that poor voters, whether it's in Bengal right now or in Bihar earlier, they were inconvenienced in having to take the train, go back home, register themselves again, and then come back and then go back for voting. So this was painful. But what is also a fact, Milan, is that pain, the opposition has not been able to convey it or to use it to mobilize voters in the way that they want. I think the Election Commission issue and the effect and the impact of votes and all of that. First of all, Rahul Gandhi did that entire boat yatra in Bihar way earlier than was required for the election. So he lost momentum. There was a whole month that lapsed between the yatra that he did with Tejasvi, talking about SIR, talking about voting, and that gap didn't serve him well. He was missing from Bihar after that. So he lacked that momentum of really driving that messaging home. Also, because it's a complicated issue, I don't think the opposition is being able to convey it correctly to people, because people also understand, they get the technicality, well, they may be registered in two places and think that, okay, fine, I'm going through a lot of trouble, but it's not really the government's fault. They don't blame the government for it. They certainly don't blame Modi for it. So in this telling a story, elections, I think, are all about telling people stories of hope. And I think the opposition, and I think Akhilesh Yadav is also complicit in that, because even after Bihar, he blamed it all on the elections. Whereas, you're just saying that the people are stupid. And I think voters don't really want to hear that. So ECI and SIR definitely issues, but not in the way that the opposition is telling that story. They haven't been able to find a compelling narrative in that, and that's why it's not really working for them.
I mean, I think there's two complications to the opposition's narrative, right? The first is, if indeed lakhs and lakhs of people are being disenfranchised, and this is what the CEC himself, Chief Election Minister, says, is where are the people who have been disenfranchised? There's no protests, there's no collective action, you're not seeing a hue and cry from ordinary Indians that, look, we've been left off. It's kind of these disparate examples in political parties. But the second is that, and I think this was the narrative bit comes in, which is that if you feel like there are problems with the rolls, the government's response is, yes, this is why we're doing an SIR, right? So in a way, it kind of indirectly helps the government's narrative that this is important if this quote-unquote vote chori is going on where the rolls are very messy, right? So I think...
like, for example, just yesterday, this entire thing about, there were too many reports of people not having the right to indelible ink.
Right. This is in the Bombay Municipal Corporation
elections. In the Bombay
elections.
Municipal elections, you had lots of people, and in fact, HT's reporter also went back home and used a remover, and it went off. So, and they were using a marker pen. Now, the opposition, I didn't really hear anyone making that much of a noise about it. It was basically people on social media saying, what's happening over here? So the opposition is either distracted, or they don't know how to weigh in on this, or they're not using the right kind of tools to drive a message home. So it's not really having the kind of impact that Rahul Gandhi did his show and tells. He had those kind of very, and I think they were just happy the fact that it got lots of views on social media. But as we all know, those views on social media don't really
translate to votes necessarily.
That's right, yeah.
Let me ask you one final question before we wrap up, Sunetra, which is about foreign policy and domestic politics. You had mentioned that this is kind of it's a big, kind of an incredible week being here. We had the German Chancellor, we had the advisor to the French Prime Minister, we have Republic Day coming up, where we're going to have the two top heads of the EU essentially show up. There's going to be an EU-India FTA likely signed, or at least announced. We have the AI summit coming in February, but there are also some negative or pain points for the government on foreign policy. We have the situation with the United States, where the troubled relationship between Donald Trump and this government continue without any relief. India is still slapped 50% tariffs. And, it's not that long ago that we had the issue of Operation Sindoor, this brief but very hot conflict between India and Pakistan, where many people felt that towards the end of that short conflict, India had the upper hand, but decided to pull back. There was a controversy over what role Donald Trump played in breaking a ceasefire and so on and so forth. And so foreign policy actually was a bit of a dicey issue then. I mean, just say a word, if you could, about, from your perspective, following politics day in, day out. I mean, are these foreign policy issues having any traction with ordinary voters? Do you think they're shaping the debate? Or do you think when it comes down to it, people are really focused on, what are the welfare schemes happening? What is government doing? Where's the infrastructure? Where are the benefits? I mean, what's your sense about the salience they have in the minds of voters?
I think the Modi government has been using it very imaginatively. They know how to tell the story of foreign policy in a way that appeals to people. So, the BJP supporters, as soon as they had G20, or suppose Prime Minister Modi goes to America and comes back before these current set of troubles, he comes back, they'll receive him at the airport. I've never seen that before, a kind of welcome thing. So the narrative that is built up is he's done such a great job that that now India has become the Vishwa Guru, world leader and of world. I think the fact that foreign policy is very nuanced and it needs to be explained in a particular way. The BJP has taken it upon itself in the form of reels and social media to tell a story that is favorable to them. Right. So that, and because they have, the number of supporters that they have, the fact that they've mastered social media, storytelling, that has helped them in forwarding. And, you see that whether it's in elections or in otherwise, they really are very good in disseminating a lot of their stories or a lot of their point of view through WhatsApp and through Instagram and other kind of, modern storytelling ways. So it's their version which gets spread over. And I think the fact that the problems that we are having right now in the whole tariff regime, the fact that we have the maximum tariff, that impact hasn't come in immediately.
Right.
So that perhaps is going to take a little bit of time to play out. At the moment, because of the fact that he has so much political capital, that his and so many of his followers, whether it's because he's also gained a lot of these supporters who are YouTubers, and the government uses them very well in telling the story how they want to say it. And that is why even when, perhaps, for example, when Lutnick went on
the U.S. Commerce Secretary.
Secretary said that, Modi didn't call him. And, the government could go out there and say, of course we did. And the way that, and they said it in a way which seemed plausible for the people to believe. So I think because of the fact that they have all these supporters and they're telling stories in a way that's compelling, I think they are able to tell the version of the foreign policy which feels good to people. It makes them feel good about where India is placed in the world. And I think Operation Sindoor fed into that kind of feel-good feeling. So it didn't matter if you had New York Times or if you had foreign papers questioning what we lost.
Right.
What they were able to point out is the fact that, look, we made Pakistan look bad, they lost it. So the entire focus for a lot of people who are not like you and me looking at international media and other sources as well, they're just hearing the fact that you have these men in uniform and women in uniform come out there and say that we did a great job, we're very happy, and they have it in their Army Day events as well, Operation Sindoor is everywhere. Who could say that we've done badly there, or that Pakistan is, has a lot of, that a lot of people are accepting Pakistan's version? Everyone over here is accepting what is being told to them. So that way, they are controlling the narrative when it comes to foreign policy, and they've done it very successfully.
Well, Sunetra Choudhury, political editor at HT, author of Black Warrant, buy the book, watch the Netflix show. Thank you for joining us. It's always fun to chat with you. And, this month has felt like a year,
Yes.
and we're only in the middle of January.
Yeah.
But it's a big election year. It's a big political year. Hope that we can talk to you after the state assembly elections, get your read on what's happened. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Milan. Thank you.
Grand Tamasha is a co-production of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace and the Hindustan Times. This podcast is an HT Smartcast original and is available on htsmartcast.com. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to rate and review. It helps others find the show more easily. For more information about the show, to support the work we do on Grand Tamasha, and to find the writing we mentioned on this week's episode, visit our website, grandtamasha.com. Tim Martin is our audio engineer and executive producer. Additional assistance is provided by Andy Ravina. Thanks for listening, and see you next week.
This was a Hindustan Times production brought to you by HT Smartcast.
HT Smartcast.